Okay, welcome back to Adventure Backpacking with Tom. I just got dropped off at my start location for the weekend, and I'm at Weaverton Road in Maryland. Excuse me while I step over this mud and rocks. So I need to go tonight to the Crampton Gap shelter. I'm going to bypass the Ed Garvey shelter. The Ed Garvey shelter is only about 3 miles from here. I'm going beyond that. I want to do about 7.6 tonight, so I'll end up putting my headlamp on later on. And so I'm heading north, and my plan for the weekend is I am going to do the 7.6 tonight, and then tomorrow I'm gonna hike either 11 or 15. I'm not sure yet. I'm gonna play that by ear. So we'll keep you posted as I go. But right now I've got about an 1,800 foot climb ahead of me, and it's no fun. Always a good way to start the trail, straight up. Okay, I'm about halfway up my climb. Probably came about 800 feet, maybe a little less than half. But you can see, I turn this around, gaining some elevation. That's the Potomac River down there. And the trail's gonna continue up this way. And it makes a sharp turn, and it's gonna go up over that mountain right there. And then we're gonna run the ridge. And when we don't run the ridge, it's gonna go to, there's a Blue Blaze trail, which I'll probably take you out to. I can spend some time. I'm in no rush to get where I'm going tonight. And it's a place called Weaverton Cliffs. And it's a good spot. A lot of views of the Potomac and surrounding areas. Okay, I'm almost done with my climb. I did the worst of the steep part. The rest of this is going to be more gradual. Like I said, there's a spin this around here for you. The Appalachian Trail north goes that way, and then that's the way I'm going to head. And Weaverton Cliffs is 0.2 to a nice overlook, so I'm going to do the extra 0.2 out and 0.2 back, and do a little footage from the views, and then I'll come back this way and continue north on the trail. I got about, from this point, I still have about 6 miles to go to where I'm gonna spend the night. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of stuff along the way. I think there's at least one more overlook and one more shelter that I'll pass. Probably do a little videotaping from there. So here's the view from Weaverton Cliffs. It's cloudy, and you can see it started to rain. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time here. I'm going to pack up my backpack and get it ready for the rain. Put some rain gear on myself, and keep on moving north. All right, I'm heading back downhill. I ran a ridge for a while. I took a couple hundred yards after that last incline to catch my breath. It was a long ascent up onto the ridge, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about the part of the trail I'm doing this weekend. So much of the Maryland trail, on the Appalachian Trail has about 41 miles, and it runs the ridge up and down through what they call South Mountain. So to the west, which is this way to the right, is all West Virginia, and that way east is all Maryland. And this part of the trail obviously runs through Maryland, but it runs the ridge of South Mountain up and down. So I'm heading down again now. Probably gonna have to go up and down 3 more times before I get where I want to be tonight. It's still raining, and I'm not getting terribly wet. It's light rain, plus I've got a little bit of tree cover, but the trail is getting a little muddy. and wet in sections. So I gotta be careful of that. And so for tonight, I'm gonna continue on till I get to the Crampton Gap shelter, and then tomorrow I'm gonna continue on north. And this part of the trail runs through several state parks. I think the first one I'm gonna come to is the Washington Monument State Park. No, I'm sorry, that's not right. I'm gonna come to Gatland State Park. I think that's spelled G-A-T-H-L-A-N-D. Go through that, and I'll probably take some footage from that because that has a lot of Civil War monuments and history there. So I'll spend a little time there. And then it's the Washington Monument State Park, where I'll come across the original Washington Monument, which is different than the one in DC. Not as high, it's all built by stone, and it's a couple hundred years old. And it is actually the original Washington Monument that was built for George Washington. So that ought to be interesting. I think you can go inside it and climb up, and I'll take some pictures from there. And then after that is the South Mountain State Park, which I'll be hiking through tomorrow night. Tomorrow's going to be a long day. Probably hike from 8 or so in the morning till pretty close to 8 at night. And I originally thought it was going to be 11 or 12 miles, but I think I'm going to go 15 tomorrow. So see how it all goes. But for now, looks like I'm starting another incline. And I've got, based on what I just looked on my map, probably have another, I don't know, 4.5 miles to go still tonight. So about another half hour when it gets dark, I'm gonna put on my headlamp and keep moving on. All right, gang. Here's the Ed Garvey shelter. Heading in this way. I am getting pretty wet, even though I've got rain gear on and my pack is covered. The rain is just coming down relentlessly. So there's the shelter right there. I am gonna spend the night here and just get up early, whatever time the rain stops, and get going. It's not worth risking ruining my headlamp tonight. If it wasn't raining, I wouldn't mind hiking into the evening, but it's not worth it. I got another, it's about 4 miles from here to the Crampton Gap where I was gonna stay, but this Ed Garvey shelter has some beautiful views here. Looks like a nice shelter. You can see there's a loft with some glass that overlooks the front. So I'm gonna climb up there. That's where I'm gonna spend the night. There's a privy over there. It's a food box. Put my food in there so the bears don't get at it. And there's another, that's actually a shower. Right before the privy, you see there's 2 buildings here. I'll walk over there for you. Check this out. So that's the privy right there. And here's an actual shower that I think runs off of rainwater. So all pretty cool. There's another little picnic area over there, and all this trail this way leads toward camping sites, tent sites. There is another person here. You see off in the distance that little white thing you see, that's a tent. So there's tent sites both sides of this. But I am going to stay inside as long as it's not crowded, and I don't think it will be.